Good evening, horror movie lovers of the interwebs. I'm Alexa, resident ookie spooky girly, and gosh, I just love Halloween season, don't you? It is the perfect time of year to curl up with some of my favorite movies and watch people get scared at the simplest things. Question for y'all. What's your favorite obscure scary movie? I'm not Ghostface. Let me know in the comments, and welcome to the top 5 scary horror movies from the 90s you forgot about. Number 5. Urban Legend. Funny enough, when I was researching for today, this was the first movie to pop into my head since I randomly found a copy of it on VHS at Valley Village the other day, and it had to come home with me. Look, it's a cast made up of Robert Englund, Michael Rosenbaum, Tara Reid, Loretta Devine, and more. Like, iconic. Oh, heads up folks, I'm about to break down today's movies in great detail, so if anybody screams spoilers in the comments, you've had like 30 years to watch these movies? So there's something about this story that is pure cheesy nostalgic fun. And the premise of college students, getting targeted by a serial killer, it still works. Even though the movie wasn't groundbreaking and was generally considered to be another 90s slasher, there are many elements of Urban Legend that still make it a great watch today, especially around Halloween. When it comes to, favorite horror movie opening scenes, Urban Legend often gets a mention, as college student Michelle tries to fill her car up with gas and ends up, dead on the way home. After being kinda weary of the man working at the station, and rightfully so, she gets back into her car in the pouring rain and, what do you know? A killer appears in the back seat. Yes, it's a very tropey movie if you couldn't tell by the title. And honestly, in my personal opinion, that's what gives it its charm. From a man with a hook for a hand approaching parked teenagers in a car, to a babysitter getting a creepy phone call, there are countless urban legends that, have kinda popped up over the years, and you see them in this. Urban Legend takes these terrifying tales and makes a whole slasher movie about it. It's a premise that's never gonna get old, once again, in my opinion. Even if the movie does show its age in terms of hairstyles and clothing, the concept is timeless, and it keeps fans coming back when they want a cheesy yet entertaining horror movie, which is hi. That's what I love. If Urban Legend took place at a high school or featured a group of 20-somethings who live in the same town but work different jobs, the movie wouldn't feel as interesting. The Pendleton University setting drives home the terror and makes fans want to keep watching. The old-fashioned, collegiate sort of environment works perfectly for this flick, as the characters walk around campus and it feels like the killer could be watching them at any moment. The setting's so perfect because it's supposed to be so pretty and innocent, but something's lurking in the shadows. There are many urban legends that should be movies, and it's only logical that this movie would have a fictional scary story of its own. So in this case, there's the story of the mass killing that supposedly took place at Stanley Hall. The characters learn that, what do you know, it's true. And their professor, Professor Wexler, lived through it, which adds an extra element of fear to the story. And after Natalie's roommate is killed, she wonders if it's even safe to continue living at the school and attending classes. If you're someone who falls for the razor blades and candy legend every Halloween, by the way, one of my actual university props would like a word with you. I love that this movie poked fun at it through the Little Mikey legend, that allegedly he died from eating Pop Rocks and drinking soda. And while this didn't happen, people believed it, and in one dramatic scene, Professor Wexler wants to show his students that, it's not possible. He asks Brenda to be a volunteer, but when she's too nervous, Damon gives it a try and pranks everyone by pretending that oh no, I'm about to die. Look, it's always memorable when a movie set at a college has a prof who has an out-of-the-box and compelling lesson plan. This scene comes up again when the killer puts Pop Rocks and chemicals in Parker's mouth later on. Brenda and Natalie seem to be the bestest of friends throughout the movie, and it's kind of a surprise when Brenda is shown to be, shocker, spoiler, the one behind all of the killings. It turns out that Brenda actually has a real motive. Michelle and Natalie got into a car accident and killed Brenda's fiance, David. While Brenda isn't wearing a, scary serial killer mask, I think that's almost worse, since she just looks like a regular college student, and her reign of terror is a massive shock to Natalie, who has been completely manipulated by her. Honestly, manipulation is the scariest thing in my book. This makes Natalie question everything that she knows, although there isn't much time to ponder since she has to beat Brenda and, save herself. Some people love a vague artistic ending, and others want a tight conclusion. In the case of Urban Legend, the movie still holds up because of the twist at the conclusion, which suggests that Brenda has survived after all. When college students talk about the story they heard about Brenda and the, killings that she committed, Brenda is sitting right there with them and she smiles, saying that she'll set the record straight on the true events. While some might say that this isn't logical because Brenda would have definitely died, it's still a very interesting way to wrap up the story. Number 4, Nightbreed. So when the push began for Nightbreed, Clive Barker's follow-up to the cult hit Hellraiser back in 1990, the marketing made the film feel like just another slasher film. The confusing advertisements couldn't seem to decide whether the film's killer was a button-eyed masked killer or the film's lead character Boone, played by Greg Sheffer, leaving fans scratching their collective heads over what this coming horror joint was even about. The theatrical posters for Nightbreed read, "Lori thought she knew everything about her boyfriend. Lori was wrong." Which, honestly, a tagline couldn't have missed the point of this movie more if it tried. The film was a meditation on monsters and fringe dwellers, about what may lie beneath the surface of reality, and the metaphysical meaning of what separates man from monster. Not anything expressed on that poster. This was just the first in a series of wrong-minded decisions by 20th Century Fox that doomed this movie sadly from the start. Now, the director's hardcore fans attracted to, the author by Hellraiser weren't really interested in a horror movie centering on Laurie's boyfriend, and casual moviegoers didn't understand the innate oddness of the project, or how it connected to an empty slogan. Oh, for those not in the know, Nightbreed was based on Clive Barker's 1988 novel, Cabal. Both book and movie center on a lost soul named Boone who searches for the hidden land of Midian. Boone never feels like he belonged, and when he began hearing whispers about the tribes of the moon, he set out to find the hidden land of monsters. Boone was framed for killings that were actually committed by his trusted psychiatrist, Decker. Decker follows Boone to Midian, and a war ensues between humanity and the monsters of the underworld. Now, Boone's story was the main event, but the tale's true attraction was the menagerie of boogeymen and seductive she-beasts that called Midian home. Slasher flicks were, very popular in the 90s, but nothing really appeared to set Nightbreed apart from the Halloweens or Friday the 13th. Perhaps because Nightbreed was about as far from a slasher film as a movie could be. Yes, David Cronenberg's, Philip B. Decker was a knife-wielding thrill killer, but Nightbreed has more in common with an R-rated X-Men than it did with Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. 20th Century Fox buried the lead of their own film. Oh, I'm shocked. And box office failure was assured. But those that did see Nightbreed in 1990, those who ventured to see the film because they were already in love with, horror's newest wonderkind from his many novels and short stories, as well as the still budding popularity of Hellraiser, saw a film ripe with potential and a dark, fevered, creative energy. Literally thousands of horror films have been forgotten since 1990, confined to dusty clearance bins and deep cuts on Netflix. But Nightbreed endures and remains a beloved horror film, not because of what it was, but because of what it could have been. In fact, Nightbreed's fans remain so loyal that after almost 25 years, they finally got a director's cut of the film, one much closer to the original, plan that you could have imagined. Number 3, In the Mouth of Madness. Why this horror film from, genre genius John Carpenter wasn't a bigger hit is something of a mystery to me. Its story about an insurance man investigating the disappearance of a horror novelist feels fresh, reminding us of Carpenter's earlier work, and rooted in classic American chiller fiction, from Poe, via Lovecraft to Stephen King. At its core is a great premise. Novelist Sutter Kane's books have the power to cause madness, and his latest tome could even usher in the apocalypse. Now, Sam Neill's protagonist finds himself trapped in a town straight out of the books, where nothing quite seems real, and an ancient evil threatens to burst forth from another dimension. Although not quite in the same league as, Carpenter's true classics such as Halloween, The Thing, and so forth, it's still among his strongest films, and filled with some genuinely unsettling moments. One of the best involves a quiet country road and an old man on a bicycle. Trust me. The film concludes what Carpenter refers to as his Apocalypse trilogy, including prior entries The Thing and Prince of Darkness. Like those two films, it wasn't particularly well received on its initial release, but has been regarded as one of the great horror films of its era. With a spooky atmosphere, strong performances, and some really great monster effects, the movie is both a clever satire on horror fandom and a hugely entertaining monster movie in its own right. Toying with Lovecraftian themes and delving into common creator anxieties about a creation one can no longer control, I know I don't need to repeat myself, but this is truly one of the greats. Number 2, Jacob's Ladder. Released in 1990, the titular Jacob is a troubled man who is mourning his descendant's death while dealing with his haunted Vietnam War veteran past. Jacob attempts to uncover his memories while dealing with severe dissociation, and he must recognize what is real versus what is in his dreams and delusions. He witnesses some pretty weird stuff and goes to his regular hospital to be checked, only to be told that he was never a patient there and that the doctor he knows died in a car explosion. He comes into contact with his former unit members, and they all describe similar experiences, but it seems like someone wants to prevent them from discovering the cause. The movie just about broke even in theaters, but was truly discovered when released on VHS. It's a disturbing psychological thriller as you watch Jacob's mind unravel. It's intellectually structured in the protagonist's haunting, traumatized perspective that will leave you shaken after viewing. So this movie was directed by British director Adrian Lyne, also famous for, Indecent Proposal, Flashdance, and Fatal Attraction to name a few. Rotten Tomatoes calls the film an engrossing, nerve-shattering experience, and for good reason. What makes Jacob's Ladder so powerful is the way the director manages to present the world from its protagonist's traumatized, haunted perspective. And there's a moment in this film which, like one scene, are kind of difficult to shake. Even in its calmer moments, Jacob's Ladder is shot with a doomy, oppressive atmosphere that lingers like a fog. it'll stick with you, trust me. Number 1. Cronos. Guillermo del Toro is a true master of phantasmagoric horror and dark fantasy that has been mesmerizing the audiences for almost 3 decades. So this was his feature debut, and sets the tone for his upcoming movies and placed the Oscar-winning Mexican director on the map. While few watching this flick back in 1993 would have thought that its director would one day win, Best Picture at the Oscars, this was clearly the work of an emerging talent. This gory, intelligent horror drama follows a pious antique dealer, Jesus Christ, played by Federico Lupi, who discovers a 400-year-old mechanical device in a scarab shape that can grant eternal life and youth, but curses its holder with a hunger for red bodily fluids and aversion to sunlight. If that sounds familiar, hi fellow vampire lovers! With the help of his granddaughter, Jesus must find a way to reverse the curse while keeping the scarab out of the hands of the evil Dieter de la Guardia and his nephew Angel, played by the iconic Ron Perlman. This masterfully realized horror film offered a unique and fresh take on the well-worn vampire trope, and helped establish Del Toro as a promising and strong director who would later deliver such masterpieces as, The Devil's Backbone, Pan's Labyrinth, and a more Hollywood-centric but still original Hellboy. Just to name a few. This movie marked Del Toro's first collaboration with Ron Perlman, and contained many of the elements that would mark, his future work. A confident mix of horror, fantasy, and drama, impressive performances, stylish direction, and a clear love and understanding as to what makes the genre so great. And that brings us to the end of our time, and now I think I officially have my movie marathon lineup planned for tonight. If you enjoyed my ramblings today, could you help us out by giving this video a like, subscribing if you aren't already, let me know if you want a part 2, hit the bell for more recommendations from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.